Hey guys, welcome back to Real Scenario. Shout out to all our real lovers out there. We are back another week in our happy place. So happy to be back.
Yes. And I'm also really happy. You haven't done a weather update in a long time, but I'm gonna go ahead on and take the helm just this time. While it is still hot as all hell, I am very much happy that fall is upon us.
It is coming.
It's coming.
But summer, this Labor Day weekend, made sure it told you like,
yes,
I'm
going
here
out with a bang.
But I'm going out with a bang.
Yes,
because it has been cooking. The humidity with the it's like, don't you know when you cook sometimes and then you cooking like on you a cooker, chef, like you cooking on a frying pan, let's say, right? Yes. And the thing cooking, but you like, I feel like the inside ain't cooking, so you put a pot top on the skillet, just to make sure like all the steam stay in it. That's what the DMV felt like. It was like it was hot.
Pan with a lid on it,
put like a little lid,
and we was right under that lid, like, woo, Jesus, oh my!
It is hot.
I'm very much looking forward to fall. Fall is my favorite season. It's also about to be, well, like I say, our season, but I'm a Libra, you're a Scorpio, but it's our birthday season.
My wife's a Libra, so
yes, Bree
it's
is
technically
a Libra.
My birthday season too. Considering the funds that will be spent during the Libra season.
Yes, you got married. You are one in all ways. You are in all ways. But yes, I'm thrilled about all that's to come. So fall, our birthdays, it's gonna be a good time.
For sure.
Yeah.
I love that. Did you guys listen to or watch the Raheem Devon episode?
I know I did.
Every word in
Thank you for all the love.
Be about you.
You better sing it. You better sing. If you're watching, this is how you know Drake got some musical talent. You see how he formed that mouth? Oh, you better get down in there. It was great. Thank you for all the love and all the feedback. Somebody, I think, commented or DM'd and said like this was their favorite episode so far.
Yeah, man.
Guest episode so far. So it's good.
Yeah, I enjoyed ourselves. We enjoyed ourselves. We're gonna have some more men come to the couch, but that was the first one. And like I said, who else better than the Love King?
That's right. Thanks, Raheem, for shouting us out and for pulling up.
For sure. Yeah. As we always, shout out to all our real lovers.
Yes,
you guys are amazing. We love you guys so much. We appreciate all the reviews, the feedback, like just everything. When you guys see us in person, we truly appreciate it. But this time for this real lover shout out, I'm not going to even, I'm going to step aside.
Yes.
I'm going to step aside.
All right.
And let this person do their thing. You want to introduce this person? Because this person reached out to Rhonda, and we had to make sure we asked to see if we could play it, but she said yes.
She said absolutely. She was thrilled. Shout out to Brittany. Her IG is BreeLynn10.
11.
BreeLynn11. I'm sorry.
1011.
She 1011. My apologies. BreeLynn1011. She always shows so much love to us. So this just really made my day that she just took the time to send a voice note. I think it's just a different touch, right?
For sure.
Than like a regular message. So Brittany, we appreciate you. Dre is gonna play what you sent to us, and it just made us smile. So we hope it makes you smile too.
I'm gonna play it. Here we go.
I am going to try to make this super fast. Good morning, Rhonda. I'm out running some errands, and so I just wanted to send a quick voice note to say congratulations to you and Dre on your podcast being number 34. So excited for you guys. So happy for you guys. But also, y'all are doing such a work. Try not to get choked up. I did start a relationship, and you guys are doing such a work. Keep going. I pray that whatever the higher powers are can continue to sustain y'all podcast. Keep growing y'all. Keep allowing y'all to do all that you do in the genuineness and the purity that you do it. Congratulations, guys. And yeah. Woo woo.
Woo, woo.
Woo, woo. Thank you, Brittany.
Thank you, Brittany. That's so awesome, man.
So good.
To hear that, our show is truly impacting people, inspiring people, and uplifting people, because that's why we do it.
That's it. And I was just telling Dre before we started taping that Brittany had originally, I think she sent me a message a long time ago because she's been rocking with us since like day one.
Yeah.
And she was single and really just not ready to jump into a relationship yet. I know she's a mom and she's like, I just want to take my time. I want to get back out there, but when it's time. And now she's in a relationship. They both listen to the podcast. So shout out to you, Brittany, and your lady. We so appreciate the support.
So appreciate it. Thank you so much. Yes. All right. Let's hop into our real life love scenario. So I was, just reading. It didn't come from the blogs this time, guys, as you typically hear me say, but I was actually reading an article on Essence. And shout out to, what's her name? Elizabeth Ayola. I believe that's how you pronounce it, because she writes a lot of their lifestyle and relationship articles, and I want to shout her out because it's just an amazing job as far as, writing and finding things, because I know how tough and difficult it is to, keep up with this news cycle, nowadays.
Oh, goodness.
But she had wrote an article that talked about Angela Simmons being in her boyfriend Yo Gotti's video called No Fake Love. And this was posted on July 27th.
Yeah.
And in that, he had said, I think on a caption or somewhere on Instagram, that got my niggas with me and the girl I wanted. Still ain't did my net worth, but I got 9 figures. I manifested that ish, right? So it had me like really thinking about their relationship and was like, yo, he really
did.
Manifested.
He really did.
This relationship.
Yeah.
And it was a 7-year manifestation, like still like in it, saying like he wanted to see it happen, and it happened.
Yeah.
So first I want to go through the timeline of how everything went, but then I got some questions for you that pertain to that. And for our real lovers, think about it, answer it out loud, whether you're in the gym, who cares who's around you.
Drop it in the comments.
Dropping in the comments. Yeah. So first, it all starts in 2015, Yo Gotti going down in the DMs.
Yeah.
The lyrics of the part where Angela Simmons is, I love the gram. I'm addicted to it. I know I am. I just follow Angela Simmons. Boy, I got a crush on Angela Simmons. They be like, damn, Gotti, you bold.
I got a crush on Angela Simmons.
F it, I'ma let the world know.
Love it. Boy, rap for me.
Rhonda put that Memphis on right there. She put the Memphis on right there for
it's
Yo
like
Gotti.
The words don't all the way form. I love Southern accents. I got a cruh.
I see your girl.
Ain't no S, ain't no H. It's a cruh on Angela Simmons.
But that song came out, and that it was a hit song, and everybody's like, oh, like, yo, he said the name, and he just shot a shot out there. So of course Angela Simmons doing interviews, and she says, Yo Gotti's a nice guy, very nice guy, but there's nothing going on there. Yeah. Angela Simmons had a launch of her clothing line during that time, and I think that he came out and supported, sent her flowers, sent her gifts, all these things, but constantly Angela Simmons would do interviews. Yo Gotti's a nice man. Yeah. Very sweet, but nah, that's not what I'm doing. Yes. So then 2016, Angela Simmons pops up engaged. Engagement ring. Everybody like, who she engaged to? Because in one of those interviews, she was like, I'm saving myself for marriage. And then a month later, she pops out and she is pregnant. And everybody's like, hold on.
Right.
What's going on?
Yeah.
And then found out that she's dating a man or engaged to a man named Sutton Tennyson.
Yes. So it was like, damn.
Like, dang.
It wasn't Yo Gotti.
It wasn't Yo Gotti.
That's all right.
And people was a little upset that she didn't wait, I guess, for the marriage thing, but it wasn't Yo Gotti. So then 2017, the relationship goes, they end up breaking up. They never actually get married.
Right.
But also in 2017, Yo Gotti releases a song with Chris Brown called Save It For Me. And I'm gonna read the lyrics for this. I'm not as familiar with this song, so the cadence, it might not be. But
yeah, I don't know this.
I might do it for like a spoken word. But the whole first verse is just dedicated to Angela for the most part. Passed my number to Angela, thought I had her. Her nigga cuffed her, married her. It made me madder. Ooh. I respect it. I'm moving on, but the truth is, I want her badder. Ooh. Maybe me saying her name made him move faster. Ooh. Maybe me being a G was kind of bad for her, but me being a G, I was glad for her. Okay. My baby mama was pissed. I ain't heard the last from her. Oh. My side chick with the ish, but I bought a bag for her.
Okay. Well, dang.
So this 2 years later, and he's still like,
what's up?
What's good?
Making it plain. And I'm taking shots at your man, which, yo, do that, okay? Like, this is all shits and giggles. It's kind of fun and cute because it worked out. But don't do that, okay? That's not
Yeah.
nice.
But how black people be. I told you it wasn't going. I seen it. I seen it from the beginning. That wasn't gonna last. I told
Wasted
you it
your
wasn't gonna last. But that was in 2017. Then everything transpires. She dates a few people. He dates a few people publicly, and then come top of 2023, they announce
Yeah.
that they are in a relationship with an Instagram post.
Yes.
That is a long time.
Yes, it is.
From 2015 to 2023. I graduated college in 2015. We are now in the year of 2023.
Right.
Like
the year of our Lord.
That is a long time. So first, Rhonda, and our real lovers, for you to think about this. I don't want to ask the question, like, can you manifest a relationship? Because obviously you can, I guess, But I have these two questions here. First, how do you balance consistent pursuit without being creepy? Right? And then is it right to fantasize over someone that much without truly knowing like them as a person? You know what I mean? Or desire them as much without truly, knowing them as a person.
I feel like one, yes, I believe you can certainly manifest practically anything that you want. But manifestation does also require work.
Yeah.
You can't just constantly say something and say, at least not to me. You could put it into the universe, manifesting. Some people liken that to praying and all of that, but prayer without works is dead. That's the scripture from the Bible. So
from the word.
Yeah. So I think that yes, you can. I will say there is a fine line with like consistently jumping out there and saying you like someone, you got a crush on someone, and they just not really giving you any rhythm back. I do think it's like a line where it's like, oh, it's cute, and then it's like, it's not cute no more.
That's what I said. That line of like that balance of like, hey, I'm here, I'm interested, without like
feeling like a stalker. Yeah, and I think that while like we mentioned 2 songs basically in 7 years, you know, so outside of what he might have been doing in like his, what we didn't see, I think that he probably was just laying back. You know, he probably did see her, give her his number, and let that be that. He probably really wasn't like literally blowing up her DMs or however he could communicate with her. I think he was laying back. I think he probably was dating.
Yeah, for sure.
That lyric, I mean, says that, his kid's mom was not feeling the whole crush on Angela Simmons. So, I mean, I think he was doing his thing. She was doing her thing. Speaking of her fiance, he was murdered.
Yeah, he was.
And so I think that was a tough time for her too, right? Like the person you are in a relationship with that you just basically had a baby with is gone, and that's a lot to deal with. So I would even go as far as to say Yo Gotti probably was super respectful during that time.
For sure.
And just didn't continue to shoot too much at her. And I think when she was ready, when the time was right, it happened. So yes, it's like you gotta balance it. And I think that if she had publicly shot him down, like what she said was not a shoot down.
Yeah, it was just like, oh, he's nice.
Like, he's very nice. Like he's being a gentleman about it. I just am basically with somebody, which she didn't say, but we knew that.
Possibly in 2015.
Yeah, I'm dating somebody, and it's a kind gesture. It's a kind gesture. So I think it's so cute. I really do. If I had to guess, it's the one other little thing I say about it. I don't think that Angela was immediately drawn to him.
That was my second question, because I was going to ask, that was the Yo Gotti side of it. Yeah. But the Angela side of it, do you feel like somebody could become more attractive as time goes on?
Yes. And I also think people can become more attractive based on how they handle you. Like I've experienced that literally. A guy was giving me like a lot of rhythm, like he was super interested, but I just was like, no, like not at all. But eventually we dated because he was very persistent. He was very kind. And I really grew to like him. Like initially there was not this extreme spark of physical attraction, but over time, like just giving him a chance, like the conversations were good. So that drew me into him. The dates were really good. So that drew me into him. So yes, like through getting to know him, I really started to enjoy him. And so I think, yes, you can especially if you find attraction in other areas other than looks, like that's all you got at first. It's all you can see at first. But yeah, I think absolutely you can become attracted to someone over time, especially someone who seems to be really into you. That's attractive for somebody to really like you, as long as it's like I said, not too stalkerish. But if it's just like, I want to take you out, I want to get to know you, I think you're a beautiful person, like, yeah, it's like, damn, I like that. I like that. So yes, I do. I think that.
Do you think that applies different to opposite sex? Like how that persistence goes and
Yes, I
like
think it's
over
different.
time?
I do think it's different because I don't feel like guys, and I don't know, you could probably tell me better, but I don't think that guys see it that way. I think a man has to be, I don't think you can really like win
Will
them
your
over.
way into like a relationship?
No. I don't think you do have to, which is something Raheem talked about. Like, we're both vetting each other. I got to make sure you're a good person for me. But I don't think it's one of those things where if you really weren't feeling her at first, you would continue to give her rhythm until she won you over. I think that's more of a woman's experience.
Got you.
Yeah. What do you think?
I mean, I think that there's a version of that for men, but I don't think it can go from completely like no attraction really to then like married and attracted or like in a serious relationship.
Yeah.
I think it more comes from I'm attracted, but the level of what this relationship isn't serious.
Yeah.
Versus like, and then like years down the road, a guy may look back and be like, she was always here. She always held me down. She was always when I needed her.
Yeah.
I was sleeping with her and stuff like that. But like I was always attracted to her. But the fact that she has my back and I know I feel like I could trust her, then a 7-year thing may work. But I don't see with a lot of men like a non-attraction at all. And then it's just like,
let me, Yeah, and not unless maybe you were in a different place in your life, so you not being into her had nothing to do with her.
Yeah.
It just was bad timing for like you. That's different. There was still some sort of attraction. You just were like, I can't right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's definitely more of a woman's experience, especially even when you think about how societally dating is structured. We talk traditionally men court, so a lot of that is basically us or you all like proving to us that you're worthy of our attention, that courting process.
For sure.
Does he pick you up? Did he plan a date? Did he pay? Did he pull your chair out? It's a lot of things that men are expected to do in order to prove that they like you. So when somebody is showing you that without even really getting a lot of your attention, it's like, okay, like I'm gonna just see what this is about. And just based on how Yo Gotti handles his artists from a generosity perspective, I bet that outside of probably being really loving and attentive and all of the things, he's very generous. He appears to be very, very generous. And that is for some people super attractive because it's not just about the amount of the gift, right? Like that, you bought me a plane, let's just call it that. It's the fact that you thought enough of me to spend your hard-earned money on me to make me happy, to make me smile. And so I'm sure she enjoys that as well. And they're always together.
Yeah.
We like that.
I like that.
I like that. Take me with you, baby.
And I think it too, when it comes to relationships and date, like as you get older, you start to learn more about what you want and evaluate, and your priorities will tend to shift on what you view as most important in relationships.
Yeah.
Because first we all grow up fantasizing of what we think a relationship will look like for us personally, what we would like, what we desire. Some of that is unhealthy. Some of that is healthy. It's depending on what we've seen growing up, whether that's our parents, family, or even television, movies. All these things shift our perspective on, or create our perspective on what we feel like love will look like for us and what we want. But then as you start to actually live life, you're like, oh, I had that thing I thought I wanted. Yeah, it's not
all it's cracked up to be.
I had this thing, and it was cool, but I probably shouldn't put as much weight on that thing as I thought. But then I was with this person and something I didn't even think I cared about, I actually do care about and I do like it. And then when I went in my next relationship and didn't have it, I realized, dang, I really valued that thing.
Yeah.
So then I think your priorities start to shift. And I think that could be a thing in this situation too. It's like, all right, in 2015, 7-year difference. What I thought, what I wanted, what I thought, what I needed was one thing.
Yeah.
But after all these experiences with all these different people, now what I value and prioritize is a lot different.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And like I said, she went through, I think, a lot, becoming a mom, losing a partner. That's a lot to reshape how you think about life. Those two things alone can completely change your mindset about a lot of things. So, so yeah, I love that Yo Gotti put that pressure on, and he's certainly not the only person to do it. I just think he's the only person that we can think of right now who did it very publicly, and they are in like a happy, what appears to be a very happy relationship. Future did it, with Lori, and he ultimately dated Lori Harvey for a little bit of time. So other folks have definitely done it, but it didn't seem to work out the exact same way.
For sure. Shout out to them, congrats to them. If you ever want to come on the show, you both are welcome at any point in time.
We will pull up on you if that's what's needed.
If that's what's needed.
Okay.
For sure. Are you ready for our real love scenario?
Let's do it. Let's jump right in. This week, surprise, surprise, we hear from Anonymous. I promise y'all, it is not us. Like,
no, it's a real person.
These are real people, but I think because of their situations, they don't want y'all to know who they are, and we respect that. So Anonymous says, I want to say first that I'm a real love fan, and I'm trying to beat the odds. After being in a one-sided committed relationship for over 20 years, and I was married for 10 of them. I'm now 40 years old, which means I started extremely young. This relationship was mentally, emotionally, and at times physically abusive. Thankfully, I walked away and took some time to heal. I'm very loyal, genuine, and caring. I have some damaged wounds that are yet to heal, but have been doing the work to heal them. A few years ago, I connected with someone I have known for a few years that had been constantly in my DMs, so I decided to give this thing a try. In the beginning, things were great, amazing, and was everything I didn't know existed. It was very different from my past relationship. We dated for a year and then decided to take things a little more serious. I was very upfront with everything, including how damaged I was and how I wasn't used to being treated like this. I would consider my partner a provider. He buys all the nice gifts and he helps with the bills, but he's not big on affection. I'm very affectionate, but it's hard to display it with him. I send the little sweet texts, the just because gifts, and plan dates occasionally. It's like I see a future with him, but at the same time, I don't. Although I love the gifts and the extra that he does, like taking me on trips, I still want that affection, the kisses in the morning, the cuddling on the couch, the holding hands, all the mushy stuff, and he has yet to give that. After a few years of dating, I'm wondering, where is this going? I feel like we have different love languages. I expressed to him several times, I don't need all the expensive things. I just want the small, important things. I can say that in these last few years together, he has helped me grow tremendously with my self-esteem and my career, and given me the boost in confidence that I didn't have in my previous relationship. I'm just not trying to repeat the love experience that I had in the past. I feel like we both have issues with communication. Although he swears he doesn't, it has been proven that he does at times. This podcast has helped me as well. If I hear a behavior that I know I've portrayed, I will go back and apologize to him. Or if Dre says something that is pertaining to me, I'm like, this is what my man meant. I just don't know what to do, and I need some real love advice. Thank you in advance.
Thank you
for writing in.
Shout out to a real lover.
We appreciate you. For sure. Yes to listening and going back and being like, babe, I'm sorry. Now I know what you meant.
Yeah,
we
sometimes we need that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm glad we could provide that perspective for you. Where you want to start, Rhonda?
I kind of want to just jump into love languages, because when I read this, that's what stood out to me, that he's loving her from one thing and she wants love from a different angle, and there's just a clash there. So I just maybe want to break down the love languages, because we hear it all the time.
Yeah.
What it is, where it came from, all the things. So there are 5 of them.
Yes.
And I didn't realize this, I'm not even gonna lie, until I started to research this, that the 5 love languages were not rooted in science. I really didn't know that. I didn't know that it was literally just a theory that was derived from studying people who, the author of the book, Gary Chapman, he was a counselor through church.
Yeah.
And just with the couples he was sitting with, he started to track themes, and that's how he developed that. So I literally didn't know that. But the 5 love languages are words of affirmation, quality time, gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. And one of the biggest things I think I learned from reading about this, is I've never read the whole book, is that we all experience love in all of the love languages, but just that they are prioritized. Some are much more important to us than others. So what's your primary love language?
So I'll answer that. Mine is, I kind of have 2.
Okay.
Mine is words of affirmation and acts of kindness. Okay. That's mine, but I completely agree. That was one thing that I had to learn with the love languages. The 5 love languages book. First, I'll say this. Number one is that sometimes, you have people who do something that aren't, like I said, necessarily therapists or doctors or PhDs. But I always said the man that wrote the book didn't have the book, right? So experience is always the best teacher.
Absolutely.
Before there was ever a book, somebody had to experience it first, and then they wrote their book, giving you the knowledge of what they experienced.
That's it. I agree.
Books weren't started with doctors, right?
They weren't.
It was people who experienced something in their life
and wanted to share it.
And then people just learned from that. They read that book, and then that's all. Even the people who get their doctorate and stuff like that, they read books.
Yeah.
And
yes.
So that's how I feel about that. But the 5 love languages book is probably one of the only books that I read from cover to cover in a day.
Okay.
And this was more of my thirst for knowledge in my own relationship. I don't know if I was married at the time or Brie and I were engaged, but it was close to marriage or somewhere in that realm. But I was like, I really want to know this information. And as I started reading it, I found it to be very informative. Yeah. And I was like, wow, like this makes so much sense now. Yeah. Like things, it was like a light bulb went off in my head of like, oh, I get what she's saying now when it comes to that. But with all that being said, those are my 2. But what you had said, the prioritizing is what I had to learn even recently, is that we all experience, like you said, all of them.
Yeah.
And understanding that you can't, just like you want to prioritize one, you can't like neglect all of the rest.
That's it.
So
yeah, mine is also words of affirmation. I believe my second one is, it's been a while since I took the survey. I mean, the quiz, but I think it's physical touch.
Okay.
If not, my second one is definitely quality time.
Gotcha.
But words of affirmation was my number 1. And if you listen to this show, you probably shouldn't be surprised by that. I say all the time that I'm a sapiosexual, talking that connection, specifically being encouraging and making sure that you say, not just like, you don't just show me, but you also say it, and you don't just say it, but you also show me. Like, I literally need both. I can't be with a person that's like, I love you. No, I also need to feel it, and I also need to hear it. I'm that kind of girl.
Question for you. With you knowing me and me telling you my love language, do you feel like that tracks?
I do feel like that tracks. Definitely. I think words of affirmation for sure. And would you say your second one was again?
Acts of service.
Yes. Because I do think, like, even with me seeing, because the love languages aren't necessarily specific to romantic love. Yeah. It's framed in that way, but this is just how you feel love in general. I do find that, like, even in our relationship, even in the business dynamics with our team that, people don't see, you really appreciate the work that everyone does that goes such a long way with you. And also with Brie, like when Brie does like just nice things for you, it doesn't have to be a tangible gift. Yeah. It's just like cooking, all of these things, like cleaning up after me or doing stuff. It's like, you really feel appreciated in that way. So yes, I think so.
And then I feel like, I communicate my feelings verbally, like I'll tell people thank you all the time, like I appreciate, like I'm very that much of a type of person when it comes to communicating my love for people via words. But that's the one thing I had to learn, which is part of this love language thing, right? Is that just because that's how you receive love and communicate love, that does not mean that's how your person receives love and communicates love. And I remember I had a situation with Bree, and it was before we had got married. And I remember sitting down, we were in Mosaic right outside of a Chipotle. Like I can see the image in my head. And she's telling me like how she feels like, she said, I know you love me. I do. Like, I know you do. But it's just like, sometimes I don't feel it. And in my head, I'm just like, I do this, I do that, I do this, I do that. I tell you all the time, like, I don't get what you're talking about. And it wasn't until I learned about the 5 love languages that I was like, oh, her love language primarily is physical touch. And we were waiting for marriage, so it's not even sex. It's just like, oh, we're out on dinner, your arms around my chair, or your hands on my leg, or like holding hands, or that even small things like that just made her feel like, oh, like he loves me. Like even just as I'm talking, or he's just looking at me with his hand on my shoulder or hand on my leg.
We driving somewhere, you just got your hand on my thigh.
It's like that type of thing. But that's where the challenge lies, right? Is when we always say relationships are hard, or people say it's hard, or we like to say it's challenging, not necessarily like hard, is trying to adapt, because you may not have received love that way or ever give love that way and don't feel comfortable doing it. It feels weird or awkward. Like, there are some places to where, or some relationships to where people didn't say I love you. It's like, like,
I love you.
I ain't got to say it. And people grow up in homes like that with their parents. Like, it's not like a thing to where it's like, hey, I love you so much. It's just like, I ain't gotta say it. I don't even think with my father, when he was alive, like we really ever like said I love you. It was more like like, and the quality time was there, the acts of kindness. Like, I saw my dad every day. He would come to my games. Like, he loved me. For sure. But we never said it. You know what I mean? And you have to take that into consideration sometime when you're dealing with somebody. We always talk about giving people grace when you're in relationships that, all right, they're trying to learn you, but learning a new language it's not easy. It's challenging. Right? It's challenging, and it takes time to do that. So I can get in this situation how if he wasn't in a place to where giving affection like that and doing physical things wasn't a norm for him, why that can feel awkward or not be easy to come around to doing.
I think it would be so hard for me, and this just you talking through that made me know for sure that my second primary love language is physical touch, because it would be so hard for me to not receive that. It would be, I don't think I could handle it, because I am like Brie, like I need to feel those little physical touch points, like just the smallest of the stuff. I loved when I was in a relationship and you just passing me by in the house and you just touch me or pat my back, pat my butt, or you like, we sitting there watching a movie and you just getting up to run to the bathroom, but you like kiss me as if you leaving the house, like be right back. I love stuff like that. I'm very much that we both getting ready to leave out for the day. It's the communication. It's the words of affirmation saying, I love you, have a good day. It's also that salutation of a physical touch. I need a hug or a kiss. It don't have to be anything elaborate, but something about just mindlessly touching your partner, for me, it just feels so good. I don't know. And I think that's kind of the thing about knowing what your primary love language is. It's what things, when someone is showing it to you, really light you up. What things just bring about those like endorphins inside of you that just, you can't explain it when you say like, I got a thing for this person, but you can't all the way put it into words, but it's almost like that chemical thing that's going on inside of your body. That to me is what tells you what your love language is. When someone encourages me, especially when I need it the most, to me, that just, it sets my heart on fire. It's just like they're paying attention to me. They are saying, you know what? Let's just pause for a moment of prayer. Like, even the fact that you're using words to God to pour into me, to kind of summons him to intercede on what I'm feeling. That is just so powerful to me. That's the stuff that I know I joke all the time. Like, boy, you know, I'm gonna take. What's up? We gonna see you later in that bed. Just you keep talking to me like this. But for real, it's the stuff that like really turns me on and makes me super happy. I do, of course, love gifts. I absolutely love acts of service. That's got to be number 3 for me because fill my gas tank up, get the car washed, take it to get an oil change,
Yeah.
help somebody that I love with something. You know, I remember my ex, I was working at a property and I had to put a report together and I was like, I'm gonna do it in Excel because Excel has all these formulas, right? But I ain't know Excel as good as I needed to be even endeavoring upon such a big report in Excel. And him and I kind of just started dating, and that's all he did. He was a project manager, so Excel was his life. And he came to my office and literally like helped me write formulas in order to do my report. I mean, that was a part of the reason why I fell in love with him. Like for real. That is a sacrifice. It was not hard for him. And he saw that I had a need and he came to it. So
sure.
Those things are just your love languages to me. You know what they are when it's the things that really just light you on fire when your person does it. It's like, oh, he really loves me.
Yeah. And I would say I agree with all that completely. And I would say one thing when considering this, and this just came to my head, is like, don't make your preferences like your partner's problems. And what I mean by that is just because you have a preference and you want something one way, if your partner wants something different than what you prefer, that doesn't mean your partner has a problem.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I see that a lot. And I even dealt with that because if you love a certain way, you would sometimes maybe even challenge your partner. It's like, well, how does cuddling like mean that? Like, it's not even that deep. Like, just because I don't touch your leg, you're mad at me. Like, that's, you need to figure out like what that is. Cause obviously I'm doing X, Y, and Z. I'm buying you stuff. I pay this. I tell you every day I love you. But just cause I'm not touching your leg, like you mad at me and you think I don't love you. Like,
grow up.
You need to figure that out. Like, it's like you have your preference on how you show love and how you want to receive love, and you're trying to make that your partner's problem. Like, they are wrong for saying I want to receive love in this way.
Yeah.
And I did that before at one point, but it's not right to do.
No.
And that's where the work again with relationships comes in, is that it's not easy to change your perspective or get outside of your comfort zone in order to, you know, not appease your partner, but to, you know, show love in the way that they want to receive it.
Yeah.
And this affection thing, like what she's talking about, that was a struggle for me. I got there. So you can get there.
Yes.
But it was a struggle for me because for whatever reason, I don't know if it was a childhood thing or something, but like I didn't like, really wasn't a super fan of like PDA. Even holding hands, it just felt weird to me. It felt like middle schoolish, elementary schoolish. Like this was just my mindset. Where did it come from? I don't know. Like
your parents, well, I know you said your dad didn't necessarily articulate his feelings all the time. He showed it. But was your mom very physically affectionate with you? Like hugs and kisses, things that you can remember, like holding your hand even?
I think as you know, you're a child, yes, that happens, right? But as I got older, not necessarily, I would say.
Yeah.
A normal amount, like hugs, you know, stuff like that, but maybe not like a super, you know, physical. Like I know a friend who like kisses mom like in the mouth.
Oh, like still to this day?
Like they kiss their mom. Yeah, that's how they'll do that.
Like still to this day?
Yeah.
Okay. Look, I had to ask twice.
But
like,
I'm just saying
still right
like,
now as adults. Because I did that with my mother. We
Yeah,
kissed on the lips, but then it stopped at a point. I did the same thing with my nephew when he was very little.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I remember the day he was in the back seat of my car and I was dropping him off at home. And he's like, all right, Aunt Fluffy, I'll see you next time. And I'm like, all right, give me a hug and a kiss. And he gives me a hug. And we go to kiss like we've been doing for years. And he kissed me on my cheek. And I said, oh, wow. And he said, yeah, Aunt Fluffy, I'm a big boy now. And he was like 6. He was like a miniature big boy.
Yeah.
But I was like, that's true. You know, it was time for it to stop. No shade to anybody that still does that.
But it's a lot of times as adults, we don't typically know how we got to where we are, right? And typically, if we feel like our behaviors aren't super destructive, we feel like, hey, just accept it. That's who I am. I don't feel like I should have to change.
Yeah.
But when you get into a relationship and you get with somebody who says, I need this, or this is something I feel like I, need to feel loved,
Yeah.
it forces you to adjust, and that's uncomfortable. And then you have to start to unpack and figure out, like, where did I get these feelings from, or why do I think the way I think? And like, going back to what I said, I was at a point to where I wasn't as affectionate.
Yeah.
I didn't know why though. I just know that it was just like uncomfortable to me.
Yeah.
It was just like, I feel like you're doing a lot. Like, at least let me get into bed. Let me, relax a little bit. As soon as I get into bed, she just want to jump on me. And I'm like, yo, like, give me some space. Like, that's just how I was. So I had to figure out like how to maneuver in that space. And when I learned about the 5 love languages, it then made me aware that, okay, this is something that she needs.
Yeah.
But one thing I learned too is that, I don't know if this is just a man thing, but we don't like to be told what to do. Right?
Okay.
And I'll say this is that if you're dealing with a man that loves you, a lot of times you want a man to be able to know what to do without you saying it, right? That's a lot of times the desire. You don't feel like you have to tell him. You want him to just know. On the opposite side, we want to be able to know what to do without you telling us.
Yeah.
But then if we're in a situation where you're like telling us, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this, it will sometimes make somebody like not do it because it feels like you're telling me to do it. So it's like, even if I do it,
sounds more like a demand instead of a request.
Yeah, and then also, even if I do it, will you still receive it as me genuinely doing it because you're like, oh, I told you to do it. That's the only reason that you're doing it.
Yeah.
So you have to be tactful sometimes in how you express like wanting somebody to do something for you, that sometimes a straight demand to a man may end up getting an opposite result. And I won't even say to a man. Sometimes for Bree, if I tell her like, yo, you need to do this, or I want you to do this, it might get defensive. She might get defensive. And when we get defensive, it's not about right or wrong. It's about winning. And so it's like, whatever I got to do to win, I'm probably going to oppose you just to give you a reason why I shouldn't have to do it, or why I don't have to do it. Because you coming at me telling me I got to do it. You asking questions with a period instead of a question mark, as if it's a statement that I have to follow and not something that I have the option to do. So it's like, you have to be tactful in how you approach asking somebody to do something or requesting something of somebody. Because if you truly demand it, you might get an opposite reaction.
And I think it's really important to spend the time to kind of piggyback on your point about don't make your partner's preferences your problem or a problem. To just sometimes take the time to unpack why they might struggle with it, why they reject it, or why they don't think it's cool, or why they minimize what you want. Like, literally just ask the question, like, why, where's that coming from? And sometimes that'll push on them to kind of think on it, like, damn, why do I do that? Why am I that? I actually don't even know. Listen, new experiences tend to be uncomfortable, right? Like, you start a new job, you might be very excited about the new job. You clearly applied for it 9 times out of 10. But there is some sort of discomfort that comes with those first few days or those first few weeks, because it's a new environment. You don't know any of these people. It could be a new industry that you're getting into where you don't fully understand every level of it, especially when you look around and some of your colleagues have been in it for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. All these things can make you really uncomfortable. To me, the dynamics of relationship and the nuances and the things that get introduced, sometimes it's very natural for us to tense up and be like, this is not what I'm used to. Reject, just because it's not what you're used to. We are creatures of comfort. We are creatures of habit. We like the habitualness of everything that we do. Few people are thrill seekers and just they love running towards the unknown. Very few people are like that. Most people very much sit and coast in exactly what makes them feel really good. And so trying to learn a new language, we talking through the love languages, it's new for some people and they can't ease into it as much as we would like to. And I think this is stuff that just has to be spent. You have to spend time on this before you really kind of jump ahead, before you get all the way down into the rabbit hole of relationship and you haven't kind of explored certain things. I know I say it a lot, but I just want more people to spend time having substantial relationship conversations. Like, let's skip a lot of the conversations about the minimal minute things. I'm not saying what your favorite food is don't matter to me. It does, right? But I don't have to worry about figuring out your grandmother's recipe to lasagna if how you are refusing to love me, we can't get past that. If we can't get past that, your grandmama's lasagna, I'm never gonna make it,
It's
right?
very
I'm never
true.
gonna be the girl for you, you know. So it is figuring out questions to ask and unpacking, and in a way that's not demanding, like you said, in a way that's not asking a question with a period versus a question mark. It is just being like, let's explore this. Let's sit down and like talk through this. And vulnerability goes a long way. When you can open your heart and you get to that safe space with a person where you can not only say, my love language is this, end of sentence. It is my love language is this because this is how, when you express it to me in this way, this is how it makes me feel. It creates a certain level of comfort for me. When you tap me on the butt when I'm in the kitchen cooking for you, it just makes me so happy. It makes me want to do this all the time for you. You have to go into spending time explaining the benefits of what you desire, not just that you want it, not just a demand that you got to do this or I'm gonna walk out this door. It's like, okay, but tell me why. Tell
Yeah.
me why you want me to do this and how it benefits me. Because sometimes that's the selling point, right? Is that that's how a lot of people sell too. Like,
Yeah.
even when we were, in property management, yeah, I can tell you that the place is nice, but I'm going to sell you on how it will benefit you. This is a brand new HVAC system. It's not just going to feel good. You're going to save money on your bills.
Yeah.
We sell you
And I
benefits.
seen your two kids. The school system is great. Let me show you where it ranks among other, schools in the area,
Yeah.
for sure. And I think you mentioned a really good point when it comes to working with your partner. And I'll say this is that if you're requesting something from your partner, like, don't let them go through that alone. And I think that comes with how you ask those questions, right? It's like, I'm not requesting you to do this and just saying like, figure it out
Yeah.
and come get back to me once you
Once
fix
you
it.
got it fixed.
It's like you ask the questions of your partner, like, why do you think you feel this way, or where did it come from? But let them know that you're there with them to help them through or walk them through or to be there for them as they're trying to navigate this space, because it is uncomfortable trying to rip up old things. And this is something that you may not have to deal with in the past, and trying to figure out why you don't like, you love, let me say this, how frustrating it is to know you love somebody, but doing something like touching their leg or putting their arm around them, or when they're cuddling on you, you don't know why it makes you feel uncomfortable. That is so frustrating, because you don't know, and you love this person, and you're not trying to make this person upset.
Yeah.
You're trying to make this person happy, but you don't know why this just feeling in you is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I know that can apply to all the different love languages. You can be cuddly and touching, but you saying I love you, just it feels like it's just like, but you don't
I'd
know,
rather eat a denim jacket.
right? But you don't know why, right? And to try to unpack that on your own without any support is challenging.
Yeah.
So if you're requesting something of your partner that is something that they struggle with and something that they deal with, you got to reassure them and let them know that you're here to help them. Like when Brie and I are going through things in our relationship, both together, but especially individually, it's like, I know this is an individual thing you're trying to figure out, but I'm here.
I'm here.
Whether that's just you had a long day, you were trying to figure it out, I'm just rubbing your feet to calm you. Whether it's just me listening as you're just trying to figure out, getting it off and figuring out and working your way through it. Sometimes you may ask for my advice, sometimes you may not.
Yeah.
But just letting you know that you're not in this alone, because we're ultimately working on ourselves even as individuals to help benefit us together.
Yes.
So I don't want you to feel like you're by yourself.
Yeah. I never, because I'm a very diplomatic person. That's probably the most Libra thing about me, is that I'm always trying to balance the scales. But I have to say emphatically, I don't think that any relationship that is healthy and happy and set up for the long term can flourish if you cannot master communication and if you cannot die to ego. Because if you die to ego and you don't allow pride to get in the way, communication will flow. You know, it's a work in progress, but communication will flow. And communication, effective communication, which we talk about practically every damn episode,
Every episode.
is the key to relationship dynamics, especially when you run into problems, especially when you're not on the same page, when you are uncomfortable displaying a certain love language. Communicating about that is going to hopefully and almost always resolve the issue when you can be honest about it and you're not bottling it in, or you just like, I know she want me to do that, but I'm just not going to say anything about it, and I'm going to try really hard. I'm going to try really hard. But you're not expressing to your partner, like you said, I don't want to do this alone. Like, I want to do this for you, right? I want to make you happy. I want to love you in your language. I really do. But I need you to help me. That is communication, and the response being, okay, I'm here. I got you. We're going to do this together. Having grace for people not knowing fully how to communicate is so important, so that you can get to me, again, the only proper way to have a long, happy, healthy relationship, which is clear, effective communication almost always.
Yeah.
Almost always.
And I think that people have to understand that it's not, it's beyond just a conversation with somebody when something is happening. That everything that you're doing in your relationship is contributing to fostering a great environment for communication.
Yes.
So it's like,
Yes.
how I take something is based off of how I may take something you say could be based off of something you did last week.
Yeah.
An action that you took last week. You not picking up the kids when you said you wouldn't pick up the kids. Now, when you're telling me something, I can't receive it because that part of the relationship, you aren't doing the things that you committed to doing.
Yeah.
Like, all these things factor into communication, because communication is a two-way street. It's not only how you're saying it, it's how the other person is receiving it.
That's it.
And if you want the
Comprehension.
person to receive it in a way to where they can hear you, which is effective communication, there has to be an environment to where they can trust you, what you're saying, right? Because if I'm receiving it, I need to be able to trust what this person is saying.
Yeah.
I need to know that person's heart and intention. So even if something may come off wrong, I can be like, I'm not very worried about it, because I know that person's heart. I know their intentions, and I know how they treat me on a regular basis, to be able to dismiss what I may have caught as like a weird tone.
Yeah.
But I know how they treat me all the time.
Yeah.
But your communication, a lot of time people fail because the rest of your relationship
Is in such shambles.
is in such shambles, and there's no foundation, and there's not a great environment fostered there for healthy communication. So you can't even receive things from each other because you have the ego in it, or you have a feeling of resentment towards the person. So you can't even hear what they're saying because other parts in the relationship, you feel like they were ignoring you, or they didn't come through for you. So even if they're saying something that may be true, and even if they're saying it nice, you feel like that's condescending, or they're being passive aggressive, and all these different feelings you're feeling because you didn't create an environment in your relationship,
Where
just
it
in
could
general,
flourish.
to have great communication. So it's not just the action of just talking. It's every part of your relationship is
Yeah.
built around, or is used to foster an environment to where it can make communication a lot easier for you too.
Man, hit the nail on the head. And I think this is why we deal with so much. When I say we, I mean probably a lot of people who are talking heads of sort that give out information and advice. I think it's also why we deal with so much backlash sometimes, because people are living their lives in environments that are not safe for positive or free flow of communication, or free flow of just love and safety. Love does not, I'm not saying love it. Love is a positive word, and it has a very positive definition. But loving someone does not mean that you won't experience challenges. But I find that so many people cannot resonate with what we say because they are and have always been, for the most part, in environments where they cannot feel safe enough to really just like somebody enough to talk to them nicely. They haven't been in relationships where they feel safe enough to be vulnerable. They haven't been in familial relationships where they can let their guard down and not always feel like it's them against the world. And so when we say what we say, it's like, but he got to do this first. But I'm not letting no, you know what I mean? It's just, it comes from you speaking from a place of hurt and pain and trauma. And so these concepts are like, I could never. I wish I would talk to a man that nicely, or I wish I would do the things that Dre say he do for his wife. These women ain't it's like, you're the women you dated, the woman you last dated. But that is literally, I don't even know what percent that represents of the number of people in the world, or the number of women in the world. It's like less than 1%, an extreme amount less than the amount of people in the world. And so I talked about this on my story this week, that like, I just want us to sometimes take a beat. And even if we have had a ton of negative experiences, you don't have to internalize that and then become a walking negative experience. You can change the narrative for your own life, for your own relationships. You can say, just because my mom did this, just because my dad did that, just because my old friends or my ex-man or my ex-girl did that, I don't have to carry that weight with me. I can change the tone. I can say, you know what? I'm gonna show up differently. I'm a pour positivity into it. I'm gonna look at the glass half full instead of half empty. Doesn't mean that you're naive or green or stupid, or you don't understand when somebody is trying to play with you, or when somebody doesn't deserve that. My discernment is super sharp, and it took a long time to get here, but it's super sharp. But it's not gonna change the fact that I'm a loving, positive person. I just know that everybody doesn't deserve to experience that. And the best way that I can protect myself is to remove their access. It is not to change who I am. I'm not changing who I am for somebody that don't deserve it. I'm going to just get, oh boy, up out of here. Or anybody, friend, family, whoever. If you not rising to the occasion of who I am, you got to go. I'm not going to change me, because I really love me. I really like the Rhonda today. I do. So, this was such a good conversation around just language, like love language, communication language, comprehension language. Is super good. One of the things that stood out to me in this scenario too, Dre, is her old relationship, where she spent majority of her adult life in, and its comparison to her new relationship. There were multiple themes where, like, I went through all of this with my ex-husband, and in this new situation, he doesn't do that, and he doesn't do that, and he doesn't do that. Do you find that, like, sometimes you're dealing with like two bads, but one is just not as bad, so it feels like it's good? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, we naturally compare, and I believe that everything that we do, sometimes it has a positive and a negative. Everything isn't totally bad. Comparison probably does help us in a lot of aspects of our life, and a lot of experiences that we have, they are the catalyst for how we behave, in the future. So if that's the only experience you had, she's talking about 20 years of her life, right? And through that, I've been in a relationship to where you pointed out all the negatives, and then in the next relationship, you kind of saw the opposite of what that person was, or what you thought you needed. But then you came to I know in my situation, I came to realizations like, oh, all those things I thought I wanted, I thought I needed, actually weren't it. But I do agree that what you're saying is that sometimes people have something that's bad, and then they can upgrade to not as bad, right? Still not good, right? But upgrade
not as bad.
to not as bad, and see it as a win, especially if you endured bad for so long. That not as bad seems just way better than bad for 20 years.
Yes.
Right? So then it's just like, okay, well, there's going to be compromises either way, but at least there's less compromises here, or at least my bills getting paid by this person, or this person's taking care of this, or this person gives me insight, or
Or they don't hit me and
or
that person did.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
do believe that that's a thing that people go through at times, is
Yeah.
trying to juggle the bad versus worse, I guess.
And like you said, we do all very naturally compare. It's just a very natural thing to do. I do feel like it's not always a good thing. I think in most cases it's not a good thing, because every single thing, whether it's a person, a friendship, a partner, a friendship, or a job or whatever, it all deserves its own evaluation. Its own standalone evaluation, and you should be evaluating it based on your own your own checklist, not the checklist. You're not using somebody else's test to determine if you pass.
Because it's not the same variables.
It's not
and
the
not the
same
same
variable.
factors.
Nope.
And I like to look at it as more like, I don't want to compare myself to someone. I would rather be inspired by someone. Right? It's like, I'm not looking at you and looking at me and being like, I'm not doing what I need to do, X, Y, and Z. It's more like, I see what you're doing, and that's inspiring.
Yeah, that's
I
cool.
look to, maybe reach that level one day. And I know that everybody's journey is different. It may not look the same.
Yeah.
Because even like, some people try to follow the same formula as somebody and think they would get the same results. But it's like, no, that person's different.
Yeah.
So you may not get that. So like I said, inspiration, I feel like it should be the way to go versus comparison or trying to be just like somebody.
Yeah, and comparing in this real life scenario your ex to your current. I think based on all that you experienced in your last relationship, you said this person was emotionally abusive, physically abusive. It was a really hard relationship that even to this day you're still recovering from. You're still dealing with the wounds of that. Certainly, I would venture to say most decent men might be better than him. Again, being physically struck by someone is a very hard blow, like no pun intended, to deal with, because the amount of anger and almost hatred that you have to have inside of you to strike another person who didn't strike you, that's a very emotionally challenging experience. So the physical blow is one thing, because it's gonna hurt, but it's also the fact that, damn, you really like say you love me, but you really can't possibly, if you would ever use your body in any way to physically bring harm to me. So if you just find a man that won't hit you, he would appear to probably be a lot better than your ex. And I'm not saying her current is a bad guy at all. He doesn't sound like a bad guy. He just is not necessarily willing to compromise at this time on what you need the most. But that's why I say, if you're going to be judging a person or evaluating how they show up for you, it should not be in comparison to who you used to date. It should be in contrast to what you need today, who you are today, what fills your tank today. And if you are just evaluating him on who you are and what you need, he has some deficiencies. He certainly has some deficiencies that you would like for him to improve upon, especially while the language thing is a thing. It's really the communication piece that's off. And she did admit that they both have communication issues, right? Like, she has them and he has them. But to say that she said, and she put it in all caps, I've told him several times that I don't need all the gifts. I don't need the physical, expensive, tangible things. I need you to pay more attention to the small, important things. To be told that multiple times and still be like you said, it's hard to learn a new language, and you have to get uncomfortable. You have to get comfortable with the discomfort. You are a great example of that. You didn't just say to your wife no, and you still saying no to this day. No, you were like, all right, she's made it clear. She needs this. I need to start doing the work and tell her I need her to support me in the work. It's interesting that he's not having that. That's not clicking for him. What did it take for it to click for you?
It took a while, because I had to go through that moment of really being like, it's not that deep. Like, what are you talking about? I do love you. I do all these things. So it's that point of really coming to yourself and being like, yo, this person really needs it. And you could see it. To me, it all came down to how much I cared for Bree. And I could see it weighing on her.
Right.
And then it was just like, okay, we need to figure something out. But then we talked about this in a Ron and I did an intimacy lab event at the gathering spot, which was great.
Yeah.
And learned so much about like intimacy. And what I realized is that, you know, sometimes it's the level of comfortability is all based off of the trust in that space that you have.
Yeah.
And how comfortable somebody feels, especially as a man, exposing themselves or being open in an area that they're not familiar with.
Yeah.
And will they be protected in that space? Will they be, you know, rejected in that space? That's all part of being comfortable doing something. So I realized, especially with us waiting for marriage, is that we had to figure out a way from a physical intimacy standpoint to really, you know, bolster that and create a space to where I felt safe stepping outside of my comfort zone and not caring what people thought, or even, you know, getting away from the idea of what I thought certain things meant. But that just took time. It took time. I didn't necessarily go to therapy for it. It just took time of Bree supporting me, Bree giving me space. Also Bree understanding that he does not love me.
Yeah.
That's not what this is.
Yeah.
He's figuring something out. He's trying to go through it. And I hope and I trust and believe that he'll get there.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the thing here is like, she says several times, but I'm like, a lot of times we put a timeline on things and we're off a lot. Like we put timelines on people's habits and actions and think that because it comes easy for us to do, or just because we say this is what we want, that somebody can just snap their fingers and start to be that.
Yeah.
And we think if we say it for a month or 2 months or 3 months or 4 months, that it'll change. Sometimes these actions take long years of experiences and things that have to happen in order for somebody to get to a point.
Yeah.
And I've realized that in my relationship. And it's like, I just had to focus on what was important, and Bree had to focus on what was important and what the reality of the situation is. There's a difference between knowing somebody is treating you like garbage and they are showing you that they don't really love you, even though they say they are, versus somebody who's showing you that they love you, but just in certain areas, it's hard for them to show it in, you know, in certain ways.
Yeah.
So it's like, you have to have that discernment, as we have talked about, with your partner to see like, is this really a thing that they don't love me at all? Or do they just struggle in this area? So it's such a hard answer to give, because it's just like time.
And I think a really important thing that you said, though, was that you saw how the impact it was having on Bree. You saw how it was impacting her, that you weren't able to grasp it when she was ready for you to grasp it.
Yes. And I'll say this too, and we've said it before, and a lot of people don't do this in relationships. It's like, if you have a situation like this, and I'm talking about people who truly love each other but are struggling with something, you're more inclined to get somebody to do what you want them to do by being kind, being nice, being forgiving, versus being demanding, being judgmental, being accusatory of them. That's going to make somebody go in the opposite way a lot of times, or maybe shut down. But if people love doing things, especially if they love you, or if they're just a kind person, a good person, they love doing things for somebody who's doing nice things for them.
Yes.
Right. And there's times where I'm doing stuff like, even right now, right? I could say this because this isn't coming out.
Right.
Bree loves picnics. She wants to do picnics. I can't stand picnics. Why am I eating on the ground? I don't get it. It's tables. I don't feel like getting down, ground, bugs, grass.
Yes.
I don't like it. Don't like it.
Yeah.
And
I'm like literally 50-50. I love picnics. I hate bugs, grass. It's like, God damn it. Where can you have this where the animals aren't going to be there?
Right.
On a table.
Exactly. Right. I don't like them. And for most, we haven't had a picnic really our whole relationship, because I just don't like it. Like, I don't like it. And she's been gracious enough, because it's like, all right, if the only thing that I can say about my husband is he don't like eating on the ground or like doing X, Y, and Z, but all these other things. And then she sees me steadily adjusting and doing things. She just like kind of is like, all right, he just don't like picnics.
Yeah.
Right. But Bree has been so great to me. Just recently, like, I feel like we've been the best that we've ever been, not only in the things that she's doing for me, but those acts of service, like even her just going to therapy and saying like, I'm just trying to be better so I can be better for you, or saying like, yeah, I asked my therapist like, how can I be better for Dre? How can I show up better? How can, when he comes home, I make sure I'm in a good mood? Like, yo, thank you. Like you're discussing this and trying to figure out like how to do that for me. That today, like after we filmed this, like I did it in a way that still works for me, but I found a luxury picnic service, and I planned a picnic for her. I told her we're going to like a wine tasting or something like that.
Yeah.
But I planned like a luxury picnic for her in Old Town Alexandria, and she doesn't know about it, but it's like, I'm doing
so
that for her.
sweet.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's because I feel like she's been showing up for me in so many different ways that when I'm thinking of new ways to surprise her or to make her feel wanted or to make her feel loved, I'm gonna go to the things that I know she's been asking of me, but has been tough for me, and things that I don't want to do, because then she'll know like, oh, I know he don't even like this, but he's doing it for me anyways, and that shows that he loves me. And then that's when that reciprocity will and cycle just starts to happen, and where you try to even one up each other on the sweetest, nicest things that you can start to do for each other. I love
a good old love competition.
That's
you did that. Watch this.
And that goes back to what I'm saying, is that the environment that you foster for communication. So now if you're in this wheel of reciprocity and love and one upping each other on sweetness and love, imagine how the conversation will go, how somebody will take it if you are trying to tell them something. They're so head above heels right now that it's like, okay, babe, I get it. Or they're more receptive of you because they're like, I love this person, or this thing is not even that deep. Like, I don't mind doing this, or I hear what you're saying. It's creating that environment for this type of communication. So I encourage people to be sweet, be kind, be loving. And a lot of times you'll get that result that you want faster and more genuine than the demanding, because then somebody might do it, but they might do it hoping for something in return, or doing it like, here you go, like, you happy now, like, and it won't even give you the feeling that you wanted by them doing it. Like, we do that we've done it as kids. Parents ask us to do something. You put the dishes in the thing, or you like,
I would die, just so y'all know. If I did all of that, dead.
But it's like you've been in environments where people do something.
Yes, that you're being
but
forced
you can
to
feel
do
it that they don't want to do it.
This
and
how
it's
mine
like,
was. You only will hear this if you will see this if you're watching. When my mom would make me do something I didn't want to do, this was me.
Oh, you was one of them.
I better be one of them, because let a sound come and she hear the sound. Knocked it the next week. You better not make no sound, and you better not walk hard.
Yeah, don't walk hard. I know you ain't stomping.
Are you stomping down my steps?
Don't be slamming doors in my house.
All that. You ain't playing with no. Who you talking to? I ain't even saying nothing out of my mouth. My feet was talking. If she hear anything, even if when I did this, she could hear all of that, I would make sure I was all the way in my room, or all the way wherever I'm supposed to be doing that chore, in the basement, washing the clothes that I don't want to wash. I'm down there like.
Yeah.
But yes, nobody wants to do that in a relationship.
You don't want somebody being like,
I guess
my arm is on your leg now.
Are you happy?
Is this what
turning
you want?
Like,
it's gonna be you're gonna be like, you know what?
Don't worry about it.
Don't even do it.
I don't want that.
I don't want it.
I don't want that. I
want you to want to do it. Like, I don't
that's
want.
Right.
Yeah. And the way that you do that is not by like demanding.
Yeah, and being way too pushy. And I think everybody. The one thing that is completely subjective in this is the patience and the time that you're willing to give a person grace to get it right. Right. Like, for some people, they can be patient to work through or massage through a thing like that for years. Or for some people, it's so important to them that they can't wait more than a year. They can't wait more than 6 months. This is, and that's for you to determine, right? Because we say all the time, what works for me may not work for you. I could really wait years to get a picnic because, well, it's food, right? We're going to eat a lot of times. And if you don't want to have picnics, I still like them. I could potentially have them with my girlfriends. I would like to have it with you, but it's a picnic. So for me, that may not be that big of a deal. And that's something that I can wait on or potentially never get. But if it's something like your spiritual walk, you say you want to have a closer relationship with God and we're working towards marriage, I can't allow you 5 and 6 years to work on that. Like, I need to see actionable items showing me that you're really getting towards that, because that's more important to me, Rhonda, than eating on the blanket on the ground, you know? So you all get to determine what you're willing, how much time you're willing to give someone. I think there is a balance, and I think you have to know when you're being too impatient or if you've really exhausted all possibilities. And as Dre said, and I think he said it fast, so y'all didn't hear that, but I heard when he said, this is for people who truly love each other, people who are truly committed to one another, not struggle love. If you know that you have struggle love, a lot of these concepts are not going to work in struggle relationships. Okay. Like when you with when you with a person that is disrespectful to you, that is lying to you, that is cheating on you, that calls you stupid. I saw somebody say the other day on our TikTok that something that I said would never work because her man calls her a dumb hoe. I'm like, baby, yeah, this ain't gonna work in that dynamic, right? This would never, your man calls you that? You speaking in present tense, that as in he is still your man? Yeah, baby, that's a struggle. That's struggle relationships, and those dynamics would never come up in a healthy dynamic. Again, gonna have challenges, but have you ever called your wife a dumb hoe, Dre?
No.
No, this is not language that you use when you are mature and you really love and respect someone. So again, you got to be in the right situation for some of these concepts to work. You really, really do. You got to be with someone who is willing to do the work, who is willing to do what you did and what Bree did. Bree's look different in like therapy and working on herself to be a better wife. Yours look like coming down off of the discomfort around her love language, but both of you ultimately died to ego. You said, what I want in this very moment, is it that important that I gotta die on a hill for? Or can I become small to myself and look at the bigger picture of my relationship? I can do that. And the beauty is that you're getting a better communication with your wife around whatever her challenges are. And today she's about to get she's already getting you being able to love her in her love language. But now today she's about to get a beautiful surprise that I'm sure is going to blow her mind. I can't wait. You gonna record some of this so I can see?
Yeah, I'll record.
Okay, great, thanks. Because y'all, we do content, but we don't really like doing content all the time. Not especially not in our personal lives. Yeah, she's about to get something that's amazing, and that's the beauty of being flexible and amenable when you really love somebody and you see them as your world in a way. You're willing to be like, I'm gonna go sit my tail on that ground. Yes, I am, because what her reaction is what you want. How she's gonna feel after you do that is what you're looking for.
Exactly.
We swat the bugs, baby. Spray some off. It'll be fine. But what she's gonna fall out. I already know it. Bria is going to fall out when she sees this.
I'm happy because it's not even, like I said, it's not just a regular blanket on the ground.
No.
It's like somebody setting it up. She has no idea where we're going.
It's gonna be
sexy. It should be dope, but it's like I said, it's that environment. Like I cannot stress enough how important the environment is. And I forgot. I needed to reference the book because it's a very popular relationship book, but it talks about like attachment, emotional attachments and things like that. Okay. And what was said in the book, it opened up my eyes so much to what really works in relationships, because I used to read and watch videos on a lot of these different techniques. And when Brie and I were early in our relationship, it's like, oh, you say things like this instead of that. And this is how you should word sentences when you're upset or you're trying to communicate something. And it's like all these techniques and practical things are good. But when I was like, why in the moment when it actually could be put to use, all that just goes away.
Yeah.
And it's because it's when emotion is involved, all them techniques, all that stuff, like I'm just trying to get my point across and it just goes out the window.
Yes.
And basically what this book was talking about is less about the techniques, which can be important in how you do things, but it's more about the environment. If I stump on a rickety bridge, I might fall through, but if I stump on a bridge that's solid, it won't even shake. Right. Nothing even happens because that foundation is so solid. So that's what we have been talking about in this whole thing, is the environment in which you're building your relationship is the most important thing, because that will dictate so much. And that's what I am trying to create in my relationship. And now learning that is create this environment to where no matter what comes, it won't shake us because
right.
we're so solid that it's like, oh, whatever, or whatever.
Yeah.
Or Bree say something to me, oh, okay, I got you. Like,
Yeah.
I know there's no ill intent. I'm not gonna even be mad at this person who's treating me this well. Like,
Yeah.
what I gotta be mad about?
Nothing. Who want to be mad?
Who want to be mad? Like, I don't want to be upset at this person.
Hate the way that feels.
Like, I don't. Like,
No.
they too good. Like, I
Too
don't.
good.
It's easy to be mad at somebody who you feel like is opposing you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
It's your opposition, it's your enemy. Super easy to be mad at them. But that feeling of being mad at the person in the world that you probably love the most,
And it's treating you amazing.
oh my God. It's like, what? What? Nah, that just, you can feel that in your body. Like it's not just emotion in the moment. You can literally feel that. It's an overwhelming feeling to be just wound up with frustration over something that you can really just release because you know that person's heart. You know them and you know their heart. It's like, I'm gonna let that go because like you said, they're treating me super amazing and doing everything that I not only ask, but things that I don't ask. They meeting my needs. They had a moment. I can let that go. When you have that type of environment, man, it's to me it's very smooth sailing. And I have only had that consistently for years in one relationship. But I'm so grateful that I had it in that one relationship, regardless of the fact that we aren't together anymore, because it really raised the bar. It set the standard to be like, oh, I'm gonna get that and more. I'm not going backwards. Oh, hell no. Hell no.
I got one more question for you.
Yeah.
As we bring this to a close. And you may not even have the answer for it because I think it's a tough question. So maybe, might defer to the next episode or something.
Let's see.
So we had talked about, and you had said that you shouldn't compare your past relationships to the one that you're in now. What if somebody says, what's the difference between comparing my last relationship versus the one I'm in now versus taking the experiences from my last relationship and applying those lessons to the relationship I am now?
So I think the biggest difference, and when I say, compare the relationship, is really more so comparing the person. Like in this situation, you're comparing your ex, the actual man, to your current man. Like their character, you're trying to line them up to each other.
Person versus person.
Person versus person. I think your experiences are going to carry with you no matter what, right? Like it's even if you try to act like they didn't happen, especially if they were negative ones, like really high emotional experiences are like burned into your brain. So if it was really, really negative, you probably cannot undo it. You can't forget it. You're easily triggered by it. If it was high positive, same thing. So I think you're always going to carry experiences with you. What you just don't want to do is fully operate out of them, especially the ones that were negative, right? Like constantly bringing it up. I think that is the difference when you're in a new situation and you're like, either as a means to praise your new person, like, I'm just so grateful that you don't, again, I keep jumping to the abuse because that physical abuse, that was the worst thing that she shared. I'm so thankful that you don't hit me. It's like, yes, of course you're thankful for that, right? But you're inflating how good of a thing of a thing that is,
when it should just be the reality.
That should just be the reality of the situation. You should not actually hit me. Like it's not that I'm not appreciative that you don't, but I'm also not about to sing to the mountaintops like he does not hit me. Like, okay, right, that's not supposed to happen. So I think you can't undo your experiences. I think you just figure out how to operate individually using what you experience to be better always. You just don't always bring it up or lead with it or make people know that you're constantly comparing them to something from your past. Again, even if it's in a means to celebrate. Like if I was dating a guy and I was doing things better than his ex, I don't want to be complimented by saying, my ex never did this for me. I'm so thankful that you do that. I don't like that compliment. I just want you to compliment me on what I did without including the fact that your ex did not do it. Because for me, that makes me think you're still living there. Some part of you is still stuck there. Just say, babe, I really appreciate that you do this for me. I don't need to know that no other woman ever did it for you. So I think that's the difference. It's not so much that you're not using the experiences from your old relationships to help you be better in your new ones. It is not holding up boyfriend 1 to boyfriend 2, girlfriend 1 to girlfriend 2 to girlfriend 3, almost pitting them against each other in your mind to see who's better. Just situation by situation.
I agree. That's a great answer.
Well, thank you. I tried. I was like, it's gonna be tough. I'm scared. I think, for anonymous, it probably just really does require a bit more communication. I think, and effective communication and figuring that out. I also think it's, like I said earlier in the episode, really challenging him, and not like challenging him. I mean, challenging him by putting some questions back in his lap to ask him why. Why is physical affection, hard for you or difficult for you? Or why is that something that you can't easily give to me? Like, really just trying to unpack that, because, sometimes for people, while physical affection is inherently a positive thing, it could have been a negative experience for him. And maybe he just hasn't shared that with you, that maybe somebody in his life manipulated him through physical affection, right? Like touching or kissing or the things that you really want. Maybe there was someone in his life that did that, but was harmful to him, So it could be something as heavy as that, but I think it's really asking those questions. And if he just comes back with, like you said, it's just dumb, I just think it's stupid, it's really being like, but babe, I let me explain to you why it's important to me.
And I think that's a huge point. And one thing that we aren't always cognizant of is our tone. And we know this being in property management, that more people leave reviews when they're upset about something, right? Versus they had a great experience. They had a great experience. It's just like, oh, it was a great experience. And then go about their day. But if they had a bad experience, then it's like, I'm letting the world know. And I feel like that happens a lot for us, is that sometimes we feel like we're approaching it in a tone that's like, whatever, respectful, but a lot of times we brush things off, right? But then when it becomes an issue, we voice it, and then we're voicing it in a tone of frustration. So when you're approaching somebody with it, it's not like this tone like, hey, like, just wondering like how, why you do this. And if they say, I don't know, it's like, well, it means a lot to me. Would you be interested in like exploring it? Because I would really love that. And it's not like I'm trying to demand anything from you, but I love you, and I know you love me, but that's just the way I receive love. Does it happen that way most of the time? No, because when you do bring it up, you're frustrated, or
every lot of times I try to kiss you, you don't never want to kiss.
Or a lot of times when it comes to a lot of things that we have issues in our relationship, they're not constant issues. We just think of it when we're reminded of it in a moment when something happens, and then at some point we bring it up when we're reminded, and I guarantee you we're not in the best of mood when we bring it up, because we're reminded. It's like we're sitting there at dinner with our friends, and he reaches over, kissed his wife on the cheek, and you just looking like, must be nice.
You did that good, Dre. You did that real good.
I've seen the look.
You seen it.
Like, must be
nice.
nice.
He kissed his wife.
Hand on the thing, they affectionate. Okay.
I would sure love some affection in my house.
Then they get in the car, the man think it was a great date, and she looking like, why you so quiet, babe? No. I'm fine. And we know that's cold for it. It's not fine.
Never fine.
It's not fine.
Never fine. Ooh. The only time women say I'm fine and it's a good thing is when we talk about our looks. If I say I'm fine, meaning I'm fine, that's when it's a good thing. But if ever you say you good and we say I'm fine,
this is a recipe for disaster, man.
We probably not.
This is a recipe for disaster. And in this moment, don't argue, just listen. Listen. When you ask them if they okay, I'm fine. And that's it. And if you keep asking, and the first thing they say to you is a question, I'm just trying to figure out if that's if that's how they start off once you pry. I'm just trying to understand why. Just shut up. Just listen.
No, this is the other one. So let me ask you something.
Whenever they frame the question, if you push, because you know it's something wrong, like, what did I do? I just want. Let me just ask you something, because I don't understand.
Maybe I'm missing something.
You're not gonna win. Just let them go. Let them say what they need to say.
Yo. It's a code. We got codes, baby. We got codes. We really do.
I'm just confused because I don't understand why.
When we are not as confused.
We're not confused at
we
all.
We are not confused.
Well, they trying to figure out how you're dumb.
Yes, we trying to figure out why you confused. Because I done said it 100 times, and I done said it with every neck roll, every finger point, okay, every pitter patter around this house, walking extra hard with the softest shoes on I got, but somehow you can still hear all these. I keep saying it to you. So why you not getting it? Yes, we are. Woo chow.
You just gotta take it, because if you try to argue back with them in that moment, it's not gonna go well. Ain't nothing you gonna say. Nothing. Not a word.
No.
That you say is gonna change that feeling in that moment. So you just gotta take it. Just apologize. I'm sorry, babe. Like I try to be better for you. I didn't even realize that was a thing. Like I'm working on it. Like just reassure, but don't try to fight back, because it's just not going to.
Fighting back is just it's going to keep the party going. And I think anybody who studies, I've seen experts talk about this. I've seen lawyers talk about this. One of the best ways to disarm an argument is to not argue back. It's to be quiet. It's to be like, you know what? Okay.
And remember that thing you were talking about when people arguing, they face each other. Car arguments are the worst arguments. Oh my gosh, because you can get heated in that car, and you can get just drop me off at I'm just about to.
You know what? I'll just Uber.
Yeah, I'll just
let me off at the Woo!
I'm just you get at the house.
We done had some arguments. Can't y'all tell?
I'm just gonna stay in the car. You not gonna come in the house? Nah, no. I'm good.
Matter of fact, I'm gonna run to the store.
3 hours later.
Yeah. What store you go to at 10 o'clock for 2 hours?
Oh, I didn't think you would care.
I just needed some time to myself. But somehow time to yourself included you going to your mom's house or your friend's house to go there and tell them about the argument that we just had in the car. Woo.
Car arguments ain't no joke.
They not. Car arguments ain't no joke, but you know what else ain't no joke? The silent car ride. Also just as bad sometimes. Like if it's on the heels of an argument and y'all just in the car and it's just like, all of a sudden you see every tree on your street that you have never seen before. You just like.
Silent. I'm famous for that. If I'm mad at Bree, I'll ride in silence. No radio, no nothing. You lucky I got the air conditioner on.
That's some serial killer shit right there.
No, we ain't listening to no music.
We turning this radio on.
We ain't listening to music. No.
Look, you know me? I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna get the Uber. Let me out.
Nah, I've told this story that one time to where Bree got her car towed and it was $2,500 for the tickets, because she had the tickets stacked up the whole time. Yeah. When I had to pick her up, because at that time she didn't have the money. This was early on in our relationship. And when I had to pay that money out my own pocket, that ride home was quiet. Not a word, no radio, no nothing. Uncomfortable.
You know why I'm laughing so hard? This takes me back to the "Don't Call Me White Girl" days when she called you dad. That's a dad move.
Listen,
that's a when your parent picked you up and you done got a bad report and they there to get you from the school and that ride is quiet. You in that car thinking, I don't know what's about to happen to me. I don't know if they about to kill me. I don't know if I'm about to be punished for 2 years.
You don't know what's about to happen.
The silence is killing you. You're like, oh my God. Like, please get on the phone. Give me any sign that you are not about to kill me, because the silence is so loud. Silence is so loud.
This is the last thing I said. One thing I thought was funny was Brie and I were watching a show called Invasion on Apple TV. And basically, like, we're on the first episode or so, but basically this woman caught her husband cheating. Like she drove, like she saw his location, kids was in the car, and she's like, why is he at this house? She looks in the mirror. He's like kissing this chick, like naked, and then they about to do it, and she's like crying. She goes in the car, like try to settle the kids down. Then she goes in the house. So then she's like looking on the thing, and she finds a girl's Instagram, and the girl has like a cooking page and stuff like that. So her husband comes home, and she was like, oh, hey, babe, like, how's things going? And it's like, he's like, yeah, babe, just a long day. We closed the business meeting, like everything went great, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, oh, I know you like to have a midnight snack, so I made you something. And it was one of the girl's recipes. And she like sat it on the table, and she was like, and he still was kind of like, nah. And he was like, oh, this late and stuff like that. And she was like, yeah, I just started to, tried something new. And then he tasted it and she was like, how's it taste? And he was like, actually, it's pretty good. It's a lot better than a lot of stuff you make before. It's like, has more flavor. And then she was like, yeah, I'm trying something new. And then she was like, I got it from this new cooking page called Ashley's Home Recipes or something like that. And then you just seen the switch in his face immediately, like,
whew.
She was like, you like it? And then she took the dip and started piling on the plate. No, I think you should get some more of this because it adds to the flavor. And you could just see his face just like shift.
His life is leaving his
life
body.
was just like literally like leaving his body. And it was just like the silence in that moment. She was just like looking at him and he was just like, I know he's probably like, how am I going to?
Should I run now or should I see the move first and then run?
I've never been, but it just made me think of that when we were talking about the silence and the awkwardness. And I've never caught anybody in like I've only had like 2 girlfriends and Bree and the other. I've never like been cheated on or anything like that and never caught somebody in the act, but I can't imagine like catching somebody in the moment to where but that person don't know how much you know. So they try and figure out, do I lie because I don't know if they know everything, or do I just like, how do I finesse this?
Yeah.
But I like the slick ways that people do it. Like, I don't prefer the whole I saw you blah blah. I like the little slick, something like
covert.
Yeah, something covert.
Yeah, you build up a case, a presentation, so that when I drop this hammer, you're not gonna be able to say nothing. Literally
you
nothing.
Just gonna be
you
like,
don't even know. You can't even say sorry.
I want you to be impressed of like, how did she?
The fact that she got this together. Like,
how did she do this?
Because when you was telling it, I didn't know if the girl was gonna come out the pantry. I was like, it's gonna be something elaborate, whatever this movie situation is. Because one thing a woman gonna do 9 times out of 10 is give you the performance. Like, we're going to give you a rollout.
It was easy to be mad, but she cooked. The girl took the time, bought the stuff, cooked the girl's meal to the recipe.
Yeah.
And was like, you like it? Oh, yeah. Let me tell you where I got it.
Yeah.
Soul left his body. It was just like, went from smiling to like.
Yeah. Listen, I ain't going to tell my secrets, not on this episode, maybe on the future one. But I've certainly done some elaborate cheat catchings. I've also had some done to me, or one done to me. And it was like,
how did that feel?
Horrible. Like, dog, when I got caught?
Yeah.
Oh my, like death. Like my body leaving, my soul leaving my body.
Did you have any indication that the reveal was coming or that the person knew?
No. And crazy enough, he called me like in the moment. It's one of those things where like creepy on a movie where somebody describes you, but you don't realize they can see you. It was like that type of thing. Like,
you like?
Yeah, like, where this nigga? What?
Everybody stop.
Everybody just don't move. Anybody see a red dot? It was like, yeah, it was like that. I was like, oh shit. Like, I was frozen. And the crazy thing is, I wasn't even like in the act.
Yeah.
But I was at the location and he had been tracking that for a while. So by the time he told me about it, it was like he knew. But I was literally in this man's house, like had just got there, about to get real comfy. And he sent me a message and was like, it's so funny that I keep finding you at this address, and sent the exact address of my location. And I was like, where the fuck is this weird ass? I'm about to die. Yeah. So
that gotta be the scariest part, is that you don't know how that person is going to react.
No.
And the passive aggressive version of it is even more scarier.
Baby. Yeah, I was shook.
I just wondering why I keep. No, be mad. Yeah.
Didn't we just talk about that when you set it up with the question?
Yeah.
Yeah. That ain't no real question. It's no real question. You know why you keep seeing me right here, because you've been checking it, and it's. Woo, okay, yeah. So, I've definitely had some wild ones too, baby. Where I done took pictures like I was a private investigator, putting it all together. It's like, it's so crazy because when you left the house that night, that's not the shirt you had on. But I like this one right here. This is cute. Oh yes, baby. I've been given the same gifts, and that's how I was able to figure it out. See a person wearing something that you got me, you just bought 2 of them. Yeah, but let's get off this. Let's go. Listen, anonymous. Patience.
Yes.
If you feel that you have not, if you feel that you've extended all the patience that you can, it just requires, I think, deeper conversations around that. And perhaps, again, benefit selling is what we call it in the industry. You sell the benefit of the need, why you need this and how it will benefit you, how it will ultimately benefit him, which will ultimately benefit your relationship. I think that's really all it comes down to. It sounds like he's a great person who has been patient with your recovery process from your old relationship. So it just might, and then also depending on where he's from, his environment, something about that just may be, corny to certain guys.
That's
to be
how it
that,
was for me.
Yeah, it just is, so it might just take a little more massaging. But if you feel like you're at your wit's end, because she did say they've been together for years, and this has always been experience only you can really determine is if you've had enough, if this is just too big of a deal for you to keep brushing away. You feel like you're not heard. That's one of the hardest things, when you feel like the one person you want to hear you is just refusing to. It's hard to get over that hump if you feel no crack in the armor that it's a little glimmer there. If you're not getting that glimmer of hope, that's hard to stick with. Very hard to stick with.
And I'll say what Rhonda says perfect. I completely agree. And lastly, that be careful of the things you emphasize in your relationship and make sure that they actually are the things that you want. Because I've realized that sometimes people will highlight things just to find something, and it may not be as serious as they even feel it is. But because it's not being done, they make it bigger than what it is.
Sure.
So then when the person starts to do it, it goes underappreciated because you didn't really care. It's just something that they weren't doing. You know what I mean? And I guess an example of that could be if somebody, it's like, oh, you never initiate sex. You never initiate sex. You never want to have sex with me. Like, I feel like you don't want me, and all these different things. And then when they get to the point to where they do start to do it, then you never want to do it. Because for you, it wasn't even like that big of a deal. It's just something that you were just emphasizing just to sometimes we make things bigger than what they are.
Yeah.
And have fallen into that trap before. It's like you just highlighting something and making it huge just because you want to. You know what I'm saying? It's just, and it's hard to find that balance because you'll make it seem like it's the biggest thing in the world in that moment. But in reality, you really don't care that much about it, or you don't care. So I'm not saying that this is the case with this, but just make sure that it's, something that you're truly like, I need this, I want this, this is everything for me, and this is how I truly receive love, versus it being something like, this person's perfect and I have to find an imperfection in something that they're doing. So I'll point this out and make it seem like it's the biggest thing in the world to where it's not really that big of a deal. Because with my relationship, Brie and I talked about that. It's like she often would say Dre's perfect, right? So any little thing that I did wrong was made to be out like it was the worst thing in the world, because my bar was perfection.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's
that's
like
a recipe for disaster to begin with.
So it's like, was it really that what I was doing was that the weight that we put on it and the emphasis that we put on it was that wrong? Or was it just that I had such a high bar for me that the moment I did something that didn't resemble perfection, it was just like the world's falling apart. Yeah. Versus if a past partner had did it, you would have been like, the expectation was lower. So yeah. But that is our real life scenario for today.
Yes. Thanks for writing, Anonymous. We appreciate you. If you want to write in, you know where to find us, relationshiprestore.com. Click the contact right into the show. Also follow us on social media. I'm at Ronnie Cakes.
As Dre Smith.
And at Relationship Restored. Share, and don't forget to leave us a review. We'll see you next week.